Hi, good morning. Welcome to ETRetail Cafe by ETRetail. To look you good on a Monday morning, we have with us today COO of House of Anita Dongre, Mr. Yash Dongre. So Yash, a warm welcome to ETRetail Cafe. Before we start, I want to understand how your journey in retail started. Was it your mother who inspired you to be part of this company? Or were you passionate of listening to her talks, for how she's running the business, and you wanted to join on your own?
Firstly, thank you, Charu. Really lovely to be here on ETRetail Cafe. Just to take you a little back into my growing years, both my parents are first-generation entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So I don't, in that sense, come from a typical business family, right? So while I was also growing up, they were also building their careers, right? So I witnessed that as a child, and I don't think I ever had any pressure from either one of them to saying that you have to join my business. I have a lot of friends growing up in school who were from typical business family backgrounds, and for them it was always clear, like we will join our father's business. But in my case, I never had that pressure as such. My parents said, you are free to take up either any of our career paths, or you can do something totally on your own. But I think what happened in the growing years in my father's business required him to travel a lot. He is a commodity trader. He's retired now. So he used to do a lot of international traveling. So, by default, I ended up spending a lot more time around my mother's business.
Okay.
Because my mother's office at the time was, very close to the home. And, so after school, weekends, I was always kind of around her work. And I remember my earliest memories of visiting her offices were in one of her very early offices in a slum area called Kotwadi in Santa Cruz. I remember literally as a little boy going through those slum lanes right into the back area. And I remember when you got into her office, she had a small cabin, and her cabin actually had a view. Like today we have these green hills. That those days her view was a buffalo tabela.
Oh.
And so very humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And I've been witnessing that as a child growing up. And then, eventually they moved from that office into an industrial estate in Andheri, which was a slight upgrade. And then, they moved in that Andheri estate to a few buildings over the years, as in when the business grew, more space was required. And then finally, we came to this lovely office you're seeing here in Rabale, right, which is the dream of my mother's. And we bought this land and built this ourselves about eight years ago. So I think just, me witnessing that journey, I think the point I'm trying to make is me witnessing that journey from seeing her work out of literally a buffalo tabela to now in her 90,000 square feet dream workspace is what really has inspired me over the years. And I think that has really pushed me to take this as a career path. Knowing that, your mother, your family has built such a legacy is only fit that I should try and take it forward and add more value to it.
So how are you adding value to the business?
So I have been in an unofficial capacity in the business for now over 10 years, because I graduated, I did my undergraduate in Mumbai itself. So while I was studying in Mumbai, I was spending a lot of time in the office.
Yeah.
So this is not like in a formal role or formal capacity. I was just sitting in meetings, listening, understanding. I was still very young to take any formal role. And then I went off to the US to study marketing. I did a master's in marketing from Boston. And I graduated and I came back in 2015. So I think that's when I really joined the business in a more formal capacity. I was given a title, designation, I was given a role. And my growth in the company has been, honestly, it's been organic. It's not been something like where I've joined the business and I've been giving a fancy title from day one. I literally started as an intern. Interns say I worked up to being a manager, worked up to being a business head. Only today, in the last 2 years, I've come to a CXO level position, right? So in that sense, it's been a very organic rise. I think the project I'm most proud of, which I took up actually very early when I joined the business. So I joined around 2015. In 2017, I made a move to New York because it was my mother's dream to always take the brands international. And I'm very grateful to my family and to our investors even back then for trusting me at the young age of, I was barely 25, 26 to go to the US and, be given this responsibility to actually set up a new business. So I did that in 2017. I moved to New York, never ran a company, forget overseas, never even ran a company in India, right? And here I'm entering a completely uncharted territory. So I went to New York, literally set up the business from scratch. So I was like the CEO also, and I was the office boy or peon also. Like, I was doing everything, right from, going to bank, setting up the accounts, setting up our company documents, finally talking to brokers, finding our store location, and eventually, signing our first store and then setting it up. So we opened our first flagship in New York in 2018. I think at that point we were the first Indian designer to have a flagship store in the US.
Okay.
And that too in New York City. And we opened in Soho, which is a very high fashion district of New York. It was a huge moment of pride for me personally. I remember when we had opened our doors in the initial days when customers were coming to the store, when the word of mouth was spreading. I remember one mother-daughter had come, and before they entered the store, they were literally just standing outside and looking at the signage in awe. And one of them even had tears, and I asked them, I said, you seem very emotional. And they said, it's honestly a very emotional and proud moment for us because we've been living in the US for so many years, and we've only been seeing these European and American brands having, these high street locations. And for the first time, we're seeing an Indian designer, standing shoulder to shoulder with the best brands of the world. So it's a very proud moment for us. And I think that really was my, like you say, aha moment or turning point, saying, okay, I think I've chosen the right career path and I must stick to this.
But I'm sure, it was an aha moment for you, but there might be some challenges which you have been facing on the path to success. So what are those challenges and how are you overcoming those challenges?
Again, so speaking about the international business, since I've been doing that and I've been managing that very closely, it's my personal project. There are a lot of challenges to running an international business, right? You're firstly catering to customers in new markets. So you have to make sure that the product you're taking there is the right product. So after New York, we opened our second international store in Dubai last year. Now our strategy in Dubai is very different from what we did in New York. In New York, it was very clear. We are targeting the Indian diaspora who's looking to shop for wedding wear and occasion wear. In Dubai, we realized that the Indian diaspora actually is not your clientele because they are actually visiting India and shopping, because Dubai is just a 3-hour flight. Either they're going to Delhi, they're going to Bombay. So we said, we must target the local consumers over there, the Arab consumers. So we sort of, did slight modifications to our garments, to make them better suited for the local Arab population. And when we launched the store last year, it was received and became a huge success. It was in Dubai Mall. And by the way, we were the first Indian brand to have a store in Dubai Mall. So I think, those are the challenges, understanding in different markets, what really are your consumer needs, because you can't take the same copy-paste formula and apply it everywhere else. I don't think that really works.
So yes, you have seen the Indian consumer, you have seen the global consumer as well. So how do you see the difference between the Indian consumer and the global consumer? What are the key differences?
I would say there are more similarities and differences, but like just to specifically point about differences, for one, especially in the US, again talking primarily about Indian couture wear, pricing plays a big role. Because customers are seeking value there, right? They don't want to kind of overpay for something. So you can't just assume because you're selling in the US and you're pricing it in US dollars, you can take the customer for a ride and kind of do a 5 multiplier or 10 multiplier. Customers are very smart, and now in the e-commerce world, everything is transparent, right? So you have to really respect the customer, and when you're pricing a product, you have to be respectful to what gives them value. Just because they're paying in US dollars doesn't mean you have the right to, mark the product up by 50, 60, 100%. So I think pricing is one thing. Then, like I said, in Dubai, there are cultural differences, right? So if you're targeting a consumer in the Middle East, you have to be respectful to, what kind of fashion they're looking to wear. They are looking at wearing a little more modest fashion. So for example, if we are doing a certain tunic style in India, which say is sleeveless or it's shorter lengths, In the Middle East market, they would want longer lens, they would want covered sleeves. Those are the little differences that you have to be mindful about. So I think in terms of cultural, in terms of pricing, these are the few differences. But otherwise, I think today the global consumer is very similar. Everyone's looking at good quality. Everyone's looking at good craftsmanship. Everyone's looking at a good story as to why they should buy the brand. What sets this brand apart from other brands out there? Because today consumers are spoiled for choice.
Yes.
Right? And of course, today consumers are getting a lot more educated about in the environment and about sustainability. Right? So am I buying something that is also doing some positive impact to the community or to the environment?
True.
Right? So I think these are the similarities which I think every consumer in the world can relate to.
And aren't they looking for personalization and customization also these days?
Of course. I mean, I think personalization and customization is on the rise. We get a lot of requests from our brides to, everything from putting certain special quotes of theirs in their lehengas to maybe putting some initials in their lehenga, something special, because this is like a heirloom piece that they're buying into that is going to be with them for their life, and they're going to pass it on to the next generation. Right? So they want to make it very, very, very special. So I think that's something also today in today's world of social media that is also fueling that necessity to do something different and to stand out. So from that sense, personalization definitely is increasing as a request from customers.
Yash, you are running House of Anita Dongre with your mom. So I want to understand, you never thought of introducing a brand of your own? I mean, your mother has introduced a lot of brands that ways. So never you thought of doing the same?
So I think you only answered the question. My mother has introduced a lot of brands already. I think we have one too many brands. If you look at our portfolio today, we're running 4 brands. We have we have Global Desi, we have Anita Dongre, and then we have Anita Dongre Grassroot.
Yeah.
It's Grassroot by Anita Dongre, which is the right way of saying it. So 4 brands is really a handful, and under the brands we have multiple categories, sub-brands. So I think there's just so much on our plate, and in today's environment where everything is getting hyper competitive, with the pressures of social media, of so many online only brands coming in, you have to really be at it every day to be different and to kind of set yourself apart from the rest of the landscape out there, right? So for us, I think we just have our hands full just managing these brands. So while I've thought in the back of my mind that maybe I should do something in menswear or something that I'm personally passionate about, because I do love fashion myself, and I love buying clothes and wearing clothes. But I just don't think we have the bandwidth right now. I think there's just so much to manage with just our existing portfolio.
So you are a young mind which is taking the company ahead. When we talk about the young entrepreneurs these days, they believe in disrupting the category, putting marketing strategies at place, and taking the brand ahead that ways. When we talk about the legacy brands, they build the brand profitably in a sustainable manner. Being a young entrepreneur, what do you think is the right way to take the brands ahead?
I am a strong believer of growing slowly, growing organically, and growing sustainably. I think what's happening in today's world is because of social media and because of this overdose of digital consumption that everyone is doing, everyone's attention spans are also becoming a lot shorter, right?
Yeah.
What is trending today, suddenly tomorrow is forgotten about, right? So you could have a brand that has done some disruptive marketing, like you were saying, and has created a lot of buzz and is doing good sale numbers also, right? Maybe has got a fancy brand ambassador endorsing them. But what will happen is if that's not sustained with the right product, number one, right? Really, like I said earlier also, when I was talking about international strategy, you can't take a consumer for granted.
Yeah.
The right product at the right price, at the right quality, and not just offering it once, but sustaining that season after season, right? Which is also very difficult because, in the fashion business, supply chain is our biggest challenge. Inventory is our biggest challenge. It is our asset also and our challenge also, right? So in that sense, I think when you're a young upcoming brand, it's good to be disruptive because today I think that is required from a marketing lens. But at the same time, don't lose sight of the longer picture, the ultimate goal, and don't compromise on why you founded those brands just because you have pressure to say open 100 stores or reach 100 crore turnover, right? I think those are just numbers. Today you reach 100 crore turnover, but if your product suddenly goes down the drain, customers will immediately abandon you. They're not going to bother because today they have 100 other brands that they can turn to. So I think while traditionally brand loyalty has always been a very big thing for brands and for businesses. While today also I would not say brand loyalty is dead. Brand loyalty is very much alive, but brand loyalty also is getting a lot harder because customers are running out of patience as well, right? Because a customer today has a choice to move to somewhere else. Just because they've been loyal to you for the last 5 years doesn't mean they'll be loyal to you for the next 5 years. The minute you slip, either on your product, either on your brand story, either on what your authenticity was, they will immediately look out for somewhere else. So I think we have to always be on your toes and always be very mindful about those things.
And when we're talking about young entrepreneurs, I mean, technology is helping them to grow that way. Being a second generation entrepreneur, how do you see technology helping your company to grow and go ahead?
I think technology has been a fantastic enabler in today's time. So just to give you an example, we've always tried to be ahead when it comes to technology. So we had actually started our e-commerce website over 10 years ago, I think almost 12 years ago. I wouldn't say it was the best website, but we had at least started the journey, right? And then about 4 to 5 years ago, this was just around the pandemic, we decided that, we really want to be leaders in at least fashion e-commerce. Right? We don't know about other sectors, but at least in our industry, we want to kind of have the best. Because what we realized and what we were so grateful for is that when the pandemic hit, we were the few brands who actually had a website.
Yeah.
There were so many other brands who were struggling and who tried to create websites when the pandemic started, right?
So that was the time when brands started thinking about going omnichannel.
Yeah. So fortunately, we had our infrastructure and we could take advantage of that. So when our shops all shut down in the pandemic, in the lockdown, we were still able to do business because we had our online infrastructure in place.
Yeah.
And and we're very grateful that we took those decisions many years ago to create that. But what that also made us realize is that we can't take it for granted. We have to move forward and do a lot better, right? We can't just be happy with something that's an average product. So we set on a course about 4 years ago to completely overhaul our digital infrastructure, like I say. And we actually partnered with Salesforce.
Okay.
So Salesforce, I think, is today a leader when it comes to omnichannel and when it comes to marketing and e-commerce. And we were one of the early adopters of Salesforce in India. And we were one of the early adopters of the entire Salesforce ecosystem. So Salesforce has multiple umbrellas under them. You have Commerce Cloud, which is your website. You have Marketing Cloud, which is their CRM engine. You have Service Cloud. So we took the entire suite and we completely overhauled our entire internal system to be powered by Salesforce and be truly omnichannel. So that journey took about 2 years to implement. I wouldn't say it was an easy journey, very, very challenging because we were upgrading all of our systems simultaneously. So whether it was our point of sale system at the stores, whether it was our order management system at the back end, whether it was our websites, everything was being upgraded together. I think it was, if I look back now, even I wonder how we pulled it off. So normally people do it in a phase-wise manner, right? We said, chalo, sab ghar pe baithe hai, pandemic mein, let's do everything together, right? And in a way, it was challenging, but it paid off. I think the project eventually rolled out successfully, and today we are, I think, having one of the best-in-class. I can proudly say one of the best-in-class websites, at least in the Indian market, where whether it's our user experience, whether it's our interface, whether it's our omnichannel capability, whether it's the tech partners we are working with the best. And that's something, we are very proud of. And that's something, I personally have been very involved in that project. It's been a team effort, but I've personally been very involved in. And even today, I'm very much involved because it's a continuous growth trajectory, right? You build a website, every few months you're upgrading it. New features are coming in the market. You realize that your customers are giving you feedback that you need to implement. You're creating, new integrations, new features. So it's a constant process, which even till today we are perfecting. But at least we are proud that we have lovely websites out there. We also, which I think we're one of the few brands who have localized websites in international markets. So for example, if you're shopping on AnitaDongre.com in the US, it's a completely localized experience. Whereas you have a local payment gateway, you have a local logistics partner, we offer returns. So you're getting a completely localized experience within the US. Similarly for the UAE as well, because we launched there, we have a localized website. So wherever we go in an international market and expand a brick and mortar store, we simultaneously create a localized e-commerce site because we feel both have to go hand in hand. You can't just do a brick and mortar store and forget about your online website. That doesn't work.
And technology is not only adopted. I mean, we have to go online or omnichannel that ways. When we talk about stores also, the technology has been adopted at stores also in a different way these days. And with AI coming into the picture, things the retail is moving at a different speed altogether.
Of course. So yesterday I got a message and I was very happy reading that, because I feel, still customers are not very comfortable yet, or very have adapted themselves to technology at the store. I think they still like to shop. If they're shopping online, they'll shop online. If they're shopping in the stores, they want the classic store experience, right? That marriage between the two has not yet, I would say, been successful in India. I'm sure in the next coming years it will be. Like, things like store pickup and stuff is still yet to get popular as a concept. But I was very happy to know. I just got a message from my sales team yesterday. So we have iPads in all our stores, and the iPads are powered with our website. So, and this is what it means by omnichannel, right? So, a customer had walked in and they liked a bunch of products, but maybe the size wasn't available or certain color wasn't available. So, immediately our store associates are trained to take out the iPad, open the website, which is the same experience like you are in the store. You have all the products there. The consumer signs in, selects their sizes, selects the colors they wanted, and checks out. So, it's a sale that's happened in the store and online. And that is what is omnichannel, right?
Yes.
And I think we did a 75,000 rupee bill. This was an ant store, just because. And otherwise, if we didn't have this infrastructure, the consumer would have walked out.
True.
Right? Because size nahi tha, color nahi tha. So I think this is the way where technology really enables you to really go that extra mile and make sure that you don't lose out on any conversion at the store.
So iPads are doing the job of a salesman, right? That ways. And what if technology takes your job someday? What will you do?
I think when it comes to creative people, founders, there's a lot more than just having a knowledge and understanding of things. And I think that technology cannot ever replace. There's a whole side of your emotional quotient and your just your general understanding of things from a more holistic perspective, which I think is many more years for AI and technology to crack that, right? So I think while it will be a great enabler for founders, I don't think you can ever replace a founder by a machine.
So my last question to you, Yash, is how do you envision the brand from here? I maybe say 100 years, over the 100 years. Where do you want to take it? How are you building it for the future generations?
So we've always been very clear that we want our fashion house to be a legacy house. Today fashion is still at a very nascent stage in India. We are just getting off the ground, right? Whereas if you see fashion houses in Europe, in the US, they've been around for like 100, 200 years. So that's how we envision House of Anita Dongre to be. Like 100 years down the line, even once all of us are dead and gone, we want the company to be alive, we want the brand to be alive, and we want the best of the people working as creative heads, as business heads, as CEOs. Whether the family is still involved or not, we don't know. But we still want the continuity of the brand to be there, and I think that's what we are building towards, and that's what Anita personally has always strived for. That the brand should always outlive her.
The legacy should continue.
Legacy should always continue. I don't think we yet have a legacy brand in India because fashion is still very young. As a sector in India.
So Yash, before we close it, I would love to have a rapid fire with you. Well,
sure.
I'll just fire the questions at you and will not give you time to think about it.
Sure.
My first question to you is, any business book or maybe any other book which you have recently read, and what have you learned from that?
So I read a lot of self-help books. The book that I read recently and that has really impacted my life has been The Power of Focus by an author called Dandapani.
Okay.
He's a monk and he's written this book. It basically talks about your mind and how to control your mind, and it basically talks about awareness.
Okay.
So it simply says your mind is your awareness, right? So where your awareness goes, your mind goes. So today you and I are speaking over here. My awareness and my focus is on you.
Yeah.
Right? But I could suddenly get distracted by a sound coming from there, right? So I think, and what they say is that all you have to do is if you feel you're distracted, just bring your awareness back to what you're doing in the moment. And I think that's such an important learning even in your business, because today when you're in a CXO role, you're managing multiple tasks at the same time.
Yeah.
It can be very stressful. It can be very sometimes overwhelming, right? You're wearing multiple caps. So I think this has really taught me to kind of just channelize my focus on doing what I'm doing in the moment, finishing that task, doing it well, and then moving on to the next thing.
Very
So I think
nice.
this understanding and controlling and having power over my awareness and my mind is what it's taught me. And I think that's so important when you're running a business and when you're a leader. Right.
So when you, I mean, recently you talked about that you're building an omnichannel brand, but where do you shop from, online or offline?
I'll be honest, I'm more of a classic offline shopper. I like to go to the stores. I like the touch and feel. I love to try on what I'm buying. I'm not someone who will order and then want to return. Right? I'd rather just go to the store, try on what I like and then buy what I eventually like. So I'm still more of the traditional kind of shopper. Not that I have not shopped online. I do shop other products online a lot. But I think when it comes to clothing, I still prefer going to a store.
And next question to you is one retail brand or retailer that you admire a lot.
I think for me, the retailer that I really admire is the company that I admire is Tata Trent. I think the way they understand the Indian consumer is just amazing, right? Right from the time they built website to now what they've done with Zudio.
Yeah.
I think they are understanding. See, one thing is to understand, the other thing is to also execute and be able to transform that understanding into an actual brand and an actual product, right? So I think with Zudio, they were just so right on their timing, right? I think India needed a brand like that, which gave good quality, value, fashion. They understood that, and then they really acted upon it, and their rollout has been fantastic. So I think all their brands under Trent that they manage are just fantastic, and I have a lot of respect and admiration for the team.
So our audience and readers know that you are building the brand for the generations along with Anita Dongre, but they don't know what do you do in your free time. How do you like to spend your free time?
So if I have like say a long weekend, then I love to travel. I will travel at the drop of a hat. Like while I'm on say a trip or a vacation, I'm already thinking of the next one, right? So I love to travel. So and not travel means getting on a flight. Like I'm even happy going. We have a farmhouse outside of Mumbai. I'm even happy going there with my dogs on a weekend. Or I would, if I have more days available, I will like to take a trip where I maybe get on a flight and travel somewhere. But I love to travel. Other than that, if I'm just in Mumbai on the weekend, because honestly, the only free time we have is basically Saturday evening and then Sunday. But even Saturday in the afternoons, we are kind of doing store visits and some work or the other is happening. I love playing pickleball, paddleball. I've got into that in the last few years. So I will meet up with my friends. We'll play a 1 or 2 hour game of pickleball. Love spending time with my dogs. So when the weather is good, now is the monsoon, but when the weather is good, I will take them to the dog park, take them for a drive. I enjoy baking. So if on a Sunday afternoon I'm craving something sweet, I will get into the kitchen, and I'll do healthy baking. Like, I don't know if healthy baking is a thing, but I will use like sugar substitutes and gluten-free baking and all of that. But I love baking like chocolate chip cookies or like a yum cake, and there's really a way I can relax and de-stress.
Nice.
So these are the things I would typically do in my free time.
Yash, 3 qualities that your mom has inculcated in you and you think that should be there in the future entrepreneurs also.
I think one of them is what we were discussing earlier, is to always look at growth as slow and organic and sustainable. Don't get too greedy and don't get too ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
She's always looked at growing the brands in a way which is staying honest to the founding principle that she started the brand. So I think that's a big learning from her. She's taught me a lot of humility. I mean, till today, people when they meet her, they just completely know of her humility, right? She's just such a down-to-earth and humble person. So I think that's something I've definitely taken from her. And then just coming to work every day with so much passion, like in the last 25, and she's actually been working with the last 30 years. Whenever she enters the office, she's that same passion and excitement every morning. Like when I'll come to work some mornings, I'll be a bit tired or I may be a bit, not in the right frame of mind. But with her, it's like regardless of how her previous day was or what's on her mind or anything bothering her, she will come to work with that same dedication and that same passion, ready to take on the day, ready to just add value to what she's doing. And I think that passion, I don't think I've yet been able to inculcate that from her, to be very honest. I think I'm 50% there, but I hope to reach that same level of passion that she has in the next few years.
I wish you all the best for that.
Thank you.
And it was a pleasure having you today at ETRetail Cafe.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here as well.
Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation as much as I enjoyed it. We'll see you again next week with a new retailer. If you have any suggestions, keep suggesting us. Till then, bye-bye.